Good evening and welcome on the Sports Show. My name is Patrick Amara. It's that time of the year when the politicians are crisscrossing the country, trying to dazzle you so that you can give them a mandate to lead. At this time, fellow Ugandans, you are so powerful and the politicians are so malleable. You know what? Because you have a vote, and that vote will determine who will be the leader of your community or our country. And political parties we have seen already, they have nominated people who can run as presidential candidates. They are now aspirants, but on the journey to become presidential candidates in the next election. However, for Uganda's biggest political party, the Forum for Democratic Change, they are yet to pick a presidential aspirant who will become a presidential candidate. So what is going on in the home of FDC? We come to the home of Dr. Kizza Besigye here in Kasangati with a question. Is he going to be on the ballot for 2021? Welcome on the spot. Dr. Kizza Besigye, thank you so much for allowing our cameras into your beautiful home. I come with one question, maybe others as well, but one which is going to be precise and concise. Honestly, I don't expect a lot of ramblings and a lot of sentences. Are you going to be a presidential candidate?
Wrong question.
Dr. Besigye, are you running for the presidency?
Wrong question.
Dr. Besigye, do you have an ambition once again? Do you have it in you once again for the 5th time to run for the presidency?
Wrong question.
Something is wrong here.
Yes.
Not with me.
You see,
how clear, Dr. Besigye, am I going to make this question so that it becomes precise? Because I know you will tell me it takes the party, the delegates conference and all that.
That's not where I want to go.
But there should be an interest
you see these questions,
in you.
You see these questions and what you are talking about, that has gripped the country, is engineered by some interests. It's an agenda by some people, which is not my agenda, but which you and many other people want me to be conscripted in an agenda to look for candidates. Candidates for what? The reason I'm saying it's a wrong question, the challenge, the political challenge of this country is not getting a president. This country should not be looking for a president.
Dr. Besigye,
it's wrong for this country to be gripped in looking for a president. It's wrong.
I have been with you on the presidential trail in the ramp and thumb of a presidential campaign when you have offered yourself to lead. And my simple question is, despite what you have said, whether you are going to be offering yourself as a vessel to offer leadership in 2021 so that your name is on the ballot. And even though you're not looking at the presidency, but perhaps you're looking at transforming Uganda with your leadership. And I'm asking whether your leadership...
And the reason we have a lot of engagement over this is because there is really fundamental confusion and deliberately engineered in this country about what leadership is about.
There's a fundamental lack of clarity from your side, sir.
Not from my side. Not from my side. Because a country that is looking for a president is a country where its people have the power to choose one.
What role are you going to play in this general election?
Just understand me. This country, since it became Uganda, its people have never said we are changing a president and the president changes. Has it ever happened? In your entire life, have you ever seen a president change by the people of Uganda? In your entire being.
Yes, but because
you are not a young person.
I'm not, and because you and your colleagues decided to pick guns and came with gun blazing in Kampala, stepping on dead bodies to take leadership.
Absolutely.
How would I have seen it?
Absolutely. So somebody is deliberately constructing a wrong question for the people of Uganda and misdirecting them to believe that they will be participating in choosing a president, and so that then we are conscripted in, that becoming the question. There is a roadmap. Whose roadmap? The people of Uganda need to get their country into their hands first before they can look for how to run it. The country Uganda is not in the hands of the people of Uganda. It is a captured state. That is where I fundamentally differ. And the questions then come, if it's a captured state, why are you engaged in the political processes that are in the country? Yes, as part of maneuvers to liberate this country.
And Dr. Besigye, I am asking whether, as a part of your maneuver tactic, whether you are going to maneuver yourself through a ballot paper and your name on it as part of your maneuver tactic, despite the hurdles you face.
Yes, and that is, so first of all, as I'm, if you want to get an answer, understand what those maneuvers are. And the reason this time, every time I have become a candidate, I have not been sought out. Did you ever seek me out to know whether I am a candidate? Has anybody ever sought me out to see whether I'm a candidate? I go and offer myself as a candidate. Candidates are not hunted for. Candidates offer themselves. There is a process in the party for candidates.
So in the previous time when you have offered yourself as a candidate, what has changed so fundamentally that now you cannot offer yourself as a candidate?
So the reason...
What has changed fundamentally? The very reason... What has changed fundamentally that you cannot offer yourself as a candidate? That previously no one had even to ask you and you went, and now
yes,
I have to ask.
Yes.
And you're saying it's a wrong question.
Yes, so understand. The reason indeed these questions come up, that misunderstanding of what the country's political processes are about is maintained, is because we give it credence by focusing your cameras and the country into that fake process, which is, by what I am doing, saying I will not facilitate anybody with myself to focus on the wrong thing, to focus on candidature as an issue in this country. Certainly with me, as are you a candidate, are you not a candidate? I want that focus to shift from that. And if by not going to become a candidate, you can now raise this question repeatedly, it gives me the right opportunity to tell our countrymen that our focus should not be manipulated, which is what is being done, manipulated into a political process that does not answer our needs. The political processes that are there, the roadmap, what they call a roadmap, is a roadmap to the gallows. It's not a roadmap to freedom. We must chart our own road to freedom. The challenge of this country, this is why I tell you, the challenge of this country is not leadership, it's freedom. People who get leaders are free, and they use that freedom to get leaders. We are not free. We are not living in a free country. Now, for somebody to manipulate us, to behave as if we are free, to present ourselves to his processes, it's like causing an election in a Rosilla prison for a head of prisoners. And the prisoners take it very seriously to adopt themselves into how they will get, their head prisoner, and that becomes their priority, instead of focusing on how to get out of prison. So that manipulation must stop. The manipulation that, you know, there's going to be, I don't know, registration, and I don't know this. When all processes are controlled by, by our captors, that must change. The conversation must change. And if by not answering your question, we can focus the country onto the right questions of, is Uganda a free country? Is there the rule of law in this country? Are there freedoms and rights in this country? And if they are not there, can you have a vote? So do the people of Uganda actually have a vote?
I just want to refresh your mind and ask for the very last time the question on what has fundamentally changed this time around, that you think you cannot even think about being on the ballot, yet for 4 times in the same country, under the same system, you have offered yourself thinking there is a possibility that you could change. And now you are saying you are going to deviate from that.
A lot has changed.
So this is the worst we have been.
A lot has changed. It certainly gets worse by the day. Don't forget that I was one of those who took up guns to fight. I was one of those who, through that war, left 500,000 people dead. That 500,000 dead Ugandans, just around here, 500,000 dead, were killed after an election of 1980. We are not talking, you know, some theories. We are talking reality. 500,000 people dead after an election.
Because you guys decided to go to the bush and fight.
So it's not just because we decided to go to the bush and fight, because even the government we were fighting, how did it come into office? This is what I'm telling you. If, you know, me, I would never have gone to the bush, for one. If I had not been, you know, just grabbed while on minding my own business in Kampala here, taken into detention, tortured until near death, from where I escaped into exile. Those things don't happen in a country you call your country, where you have rights. So if anybody can grab you, like it happens even now, people are grabbed, taken to safe houses, clobbered, some killed there, you know. In such a country where there is no state institution, where courts of law are attacked, where parliament is attacked by soldiers in broad daylight, on camera, and the speaker is left, you know, shattered, and is lamenting who attacked us. That is not a country where you should be asking the question about candidates. The question we should all Ugandans be asking, and which I implore all Ugandans to ask, is, are we in a free country or not? And if we are not in a free country, do we have a vote?
In your own party, Dr. Besigye, that you have worked so hard to build, the Forum for Democratic Change, you have seen high name recognition party leaders who are now opting to run as independent, as for member of parliament, people moving from FDC to other parties, maybe to Alliance for National Transformation. Your own house that you helped to build is not in order.
So
is in disarray.
So Patrick.
Dr. Besigye, it is.
So Patrick, understand, I have just told you.
So that alone does not give you the catalyst to start getting an ambition to run because your house, the pillars of your house are wobbly.
Even when there was no house, I was a candidate. Where was my house in 2001? There was no FDC. Whose house did Mbabazi run under? One does not need a house to be a candidate.
And what did he get? But so we have just seen a report from a survey called the Uganda Governance Pulse, done by the independent peer expert group, the independent expert peer group. And really, the findings of that report, done by a reputable organization called Research World International, shows that the shine of Dr. Besigye is, you know, diminishing. And the shine of the Robert Chagulanyi is rising.
I have,
So you find yourself in unfamiliar territory
have,
in opposition politics of Uganda.
You see, I have no problem with what shine I have or not have. My problem is with being a fully fledged citizen with full rights. What is the purpose of shining as a star when I cannot leave my house? What you are talking about shining, could I leave my house? So didn't you see soldiers camped here for a whole year? And nobody was allowed to come in unless they are interrogated, and I could not get out freely. So that is the shine. This is why I'm saying we are directed to answer and engage the country in totally irrelevant things and divert them. This is in fact where the word that sometimes is used by its chief propagator, Mr. Museveni, obscurantism, is relevant. This regime, the junta, the NRM junta, is a master of obscurator or whatever.
But with all respect to Dr. Besigye, you yourself, you have lacked clarity in this matter. Because, all right, where are you focused?
On liberation. And I have
using what means?
All means. I've told you, I captured a gun and spent 4 years in the bush.
You want to do the same?
So,
do you want to do the same?
I have not veered. When we got into power, our struggle was hijacked. The purpose of NRM was to execute a transition from gun rule to people rule. That is the elusive political achievement that this country is looking for. Transition from gun rule to people rule.
And in your view, that has not happened?
Of course it hasn't.
So are you planning to pick your AK-47 and go back to the jungle?
Yeah, so understand how I have not, tactics may change. And so you may appear in an election, but you must be clear what it is you are doing. If it is looking for a leadership post, then you are looking for a leadership post. If it is looking for freedom and rights and equal opportunity in a country, then your pursuit will be totally different. And so, even when I contested first in 2001, 2006, I had a slight, I knew I was contesting against people that were really not Democrats, that were, for all intents and purposes, outright, abusers of power and outright dictators. But the reason I participated were twofold. First, I carried a slight doubt as to whether maybe there could be a reflection on their part as to where the country had come from, the kind of suffering and death that had brought them into power, And in those first engagements, we were appealing to that sentiment to say, but can't you remember, why we went to the bush, first of all? That the reason we went to the bush was abuse of power, was an election that is rigged. Mr. Museveni, that time, was singing about how his constituency was gerrymandered in Ankole North, whatever his constituency, because they were cutting out wherever he may have support, they would leave it out and give him where it would be most difficult for him, gerrymandering. Right now, as we talk, that is exactly what is happening. So in the initial engagements, my engagements at least, we were trying to appeal to this, to the conscience of people that have been in a war that killed 500,000 people, running straight into the very things that caused the massive death of people. And so I entertained a slim hope that maybe they may ease off and let that transition.
So now that that hope has been extinguished, and what are the other areas that you are going to use so that you can embolden Ugandans to be with you on a journey that you are focused on?
So without that hope, it must be clear, not just to me. And you know, I always, you know, I don't know how you journalists actually are trained, our journalists especially in Uganda, because you continue to ask questions as if you are somewhere standing on Mars and asking of the people in Uganda. When you live what we live, you know, you are as hungry as I am, you are as exploited as I am, you are as terrorized as I am, you are, you know, so it's not just about me. And that is the difference between what I am doing and those who are seeking office. If I was seeking office, I would be seeking it for myself to occupy an office, me, the candidate. This is not about me. And this is why I very, very emphatically refuse to be made the subject. Are you a candidate? It's not about me. It's about all of us and our freedom. And whether we can use whatever processes, including elections, to fight and get that freedom, not to occupy an office. And this is why, if you go even to my 201 campaign and look at our manifesto, I have always said, even from 201, that I am getting into this election to manage a transition.
Yes, but the longer, Dr.
transition,
the longer it takes, in my view, for all forces of change coming together and have that kind of cohesion that perhaps can also give inspiration and energy and courage to Ugandans, the longer it takes for you to get that kind of cohesion,
you say the longer it will take
it becomes a disadvantage to you.
It will take as long as, first of all, the understanding becomes the same. You can see how even we ourselves find it difficult to see things the same way, that we are captives, and that what Uganda needs is, first and foremost, freedom, before we focus on how to use that freedom to get the country better managed. The first thing, the political challenge, is freedom, not offices. So,
but don't you believe that there's a need for the political parties, especially those parties seeking for change, to actually be working together? And that has eluded you.
You see, I have told you that there are two contending people, or two contending sides. One side is of a few people that captured Uganda. And those few people, actually, you know, I hear a lot of misconception that it's Banyankole, or, you know, it's a, no, it's a family. It's family rule. It's Mr. Museveni and his family, and maybe a few cronies, some cronies, who captured and own Uganda, you know, just not very different as how King Leopold owned the Congo. That's exactly how they own Uganda. And so there are two sides. These ones who own Uganda want to keep its ownership and using it the way they want. And in doing so, they employ everything within their power to keep Uganda captive. And among the things they use are the following. One, of course, they use guns to cause fear in everybody. Two, because they control the wealth. The struggle, after all, is about wealth. Who controls the wealth? Because they control all the wealth, they use that wealth to compromise people and use them, just like the British owned our wealth and used it to hire Ugandans, to beat Ugandans, to submit to them. It's not any different. So they use the wealth they have to rent people. And when you see people, especially the elites, now the elites are the victims of that rented support, you know, whom they rent in all areas, including in this government departments, rent and use of people, whether they are electoral commissioners, whether they are, so they use that. But thirdly, and critically, is the control of the mind by controlling information. So they use all sorts of things, and of course at the front line of that is your media. Use media to bombard citizens to believe what is not. And to that's the obscure, to obscure their sight. That is, this is why I am very excited about Bizontos. You know, these Bizontos are now also, you know, a force on the liberation side. You know, also teaching to Vasomesi, let's teach you. You know, Hagara to Vasomesi. Because the other side, the Mirundis, the Mwendas, the Ofono Pondos, the what, the Bizontos on the other side are there busy every time bombarding Ugandans to cause them to believe what is not. And to cause them to believe that they will be free at some stage.
So now,
this and that.
In your understanding now, of the situation, how do you want Ugandans to work with you?
So you were asking about how quickly we can come together. And it's critically important that we come together. The starting point of coming together is having a common understanding that we are captives and that our mission, we agree on the mission, that our mission is liberation, is freedom. And that to get freedom, we must get together.
So why have you failed to agree on that mission?
Because the Bizontos on the other side have been extremely effective in causing people not to causing confusion
amongst yourselves?
Amongst our yes,
amongst yourselves?
Yes, amongst including you, amongst Ugandans.
I'm not one of those.
Including
and I want.
amongst Ugandans.
Why have you made yourself in a situation that you can get confused, yet you are leaders?
Well, you see.
Why do you allow yourself to get hoodwinked, yet you're supposed to be leaders?
So this is why I tell you that it's a struggle. In a struggle, I've told you, those who captured Uganda use all the advantages on their side to keep the status quo. And the advantages they have are not few. I've told you they include killing. They can kill you if you don't do what they want. And they kill people every day. So those who want to, even when they know that this is wrong, but want to live, have been threatened, and they threaten everybody who speaks for liberation. They threaten them. They, in all ways, you know, they harass them, take away whatever you have, stop you from living, from earning, stop you, you know, the harassment is intense. So it's a person, even those who understand, it's a tall order for them to sacrifice and say, I will stay the course, no matter if I don't earn, no matter if I don't eat. It's a sacrifice, like we sacrificed in the bush. Indeed, people must sacrifice, and we will never get freedom unless
it is that
Ugandans
sacrifice that is missing, because it appears you're saying everything, the ground is not leveled, they are harassing you, they're doing everything that is not right. And you know what? Nobody is going to level the ground for you. You have got to fight for yourself. And they will throw you to the deep end unless you swim out.
But as you know, I know that very, very well.
So if you know the ground is not going to get leveled, you have to fight, because there are countries where leaders have managed to fight out and get success despite the state.
That's why I wake up every day to do that. Have you ever seen me that I have woken up and you found me in my garden digging? Have you ever seen me? I have a few animals here. You'll never find me in them. I wake up every day to do what needs to be done at whatever risk, so that I am free. And it's not about so that I get this or that. It's about living in a free country.
So how about these FDC lieutenants, let me call them lieutenants, that you had inspired and they have become leaders, they have become members of parliament, but in broad daylight they come and speak ill of FDC. In fact, they get out of the party. I can give you examples of the Honorable Odongo Tor, the Honorable Robert Centenary, the Honorable Kasiano Wadri now who is moving, and many others who have joined other parties, and others saying who have not joined other parties are saying, no, we are not going to go on the FDC bandwagon. We'll go independent.
You see,
that shows,
as I have told you, we are a people in captivity. Political parties are democratic institutions. Political parties, by nature, they are formed to run as democratic institutions in a democratic dispensation. Political parties are not formed to run without any money, that you live in a country where nobody can write a check for a party. Can anybody in this town write a check for FDC? Tell me, can you yourself write a check?
Only you can know, because you have been a party president.
Yes, so
you know who have given you money or not.
Yes, so
whether they have given you money and you talk about it or not, that's your own contract with them.
The thing is, when there is no freedom, you cannot have running political.
But I've seen people give you money in the broad daylight.
Yes, and
so yes, people can give money to FDC. There is even a record to show that.
No, that's why we exist. But I'm telling you, nobody will write a check. Nobody will want to identify openly. Extremely few. Why? Because there is no freedom. There is no freedom. There is no freedom to assemble. Can we call a rally here of FDC tomorrow? Or even a meeting, a small meeting? Have you been seeing Honorable Nganda arrested just addressing 10 people? That cannot be a political party functioning. So it's another lie that those who have captured us want us to live, that there is a multi-party dispensation, that in actual fact there are elections and there are results, and you debate the results. That's why you were referring to opinion poll. Another bizonto. It's just a bizonto of Wakida. There's another bizonto.
But you see, that's a natural reaction that would come from you.
It's not a natural.
Let me tell you this.
It's not a natural reaction.
Whenever an opinion
I can
poll,
prove everything
yes,
that I say.
But I have seen it from all of you. When an opinion poll praises you, you're okay with it. When an opinion poll does not, that's how you react. Every Ugandan would react like that. When it praises you say that's okay. When it doesn't, you highlight the good it says, and you do not talk about the bad it says. It's just normal.
So you believe that 80% of Ugandans want the NRM?
That's not what they said.
That's exactly what they said.
But I know that if Museveni was to be on the ballot, they say 47%.
Then you didn't read the report.
They said 47%.
Then you haven't read the song.
When they asked if who would they vote for, 47% said President Yoweri Museveni, which our constitution says you have to have 50 plus 1. In other words, he wouldn't, with 47, he wouldn't be able to win an election unless you go for a rerun. But
you remember the same Bizonto said that in 2015 I had 17%. Is that what I had, even by their own declaration? That's what they said. They said I had 17, Museveni had 55. 2015, August, just like now. So, first of all, let me tell you, if there is no freedom, first of all, if we are going to have a meaningful conversation, at least we should first agree on the basics. Is there freedom in this country? Is there none? Because that's where all the other arguments are built.
In fact, that question was also put in the survey.
And
people say they could express themselves apart from a few regions, like in the Rwenzori. It's there.
But the question is there freedom? Forget about a question about, because even to answer
there was a scientific survey that answers that question, and it gives us a percentage.
You see, if there is no freedom, then you have no freedom to answer whether there is freedom. I'm just asking you, you as a Ugandan who lives here and who works in the media, you who have been clobbered every day with your cameras, is there freedom in the media? Forget even before you get politicians, just the media. How many times has, Monitor been invaded and taken over and closed and whatever? Is that the freedom we are talking about?
Unfortunately.
So if there is no freedom, you cannot talk about an opinion of a locked up people, an opinion of people in prison.
Hold on to your point, Dr. Besige. Hold on to your point, Dr. Besige. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and we are coming to you live from the home of Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. And, earlier before we took a break, you actually said Uganda is under, captivity of sorts. So in the journey to free Ugandans and for Ugandans to free themselves, because you have tried this before, for, if I can remember, 19 years doing the same thing, and I'm sure you have even done it longer than that, but for 19 years I've been observing. How do you want to do it differently so that this time around Ugandans can join you and understand the cause and free themselves?
You see, Patrick, frankly, I get frustrated even before I think about doing something differently by people simply not seeming to hear what I say. So even when I think about something different, I don't know whether they will hear it. Because what I have been shouting my voice hoarse about is that it can't be done by Besigye.
And I'm not even saying you, but Besigye can be the catalyst.
So you are saying, what will I do?
What should Ugandans do to free themselves?
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is about our common destiny. It's about all of us. And what I would like to suggest to all of us, first and foremost, is to be serious about first to appreciate the terrible situation in which we are, and to be serious, otherwise we will get extinct, frankly. You can see we have just come out of COVID.
We have not yet.
Lockdown,
okay.
Of the lockdown. People came out of COVID lockdown, decimated in all ways. Their livelihood, their lives, have nowhere to live. They are being thrown out of houses. They have, nothing, During the COVID, we borrowed tons of money during and even after. We have just received about $1 billion after COVID. We borrowed during COVID about...
During the lockdown.
During the COVID lockdown, about, $700 million. All this money is not being applied to change our lives, to revive these millions of Ugandans that are dying. And they are dying daily. You hear some burning themselves with fuel, with what? There is total desperation in the country. And instead of focusing on how do we free ourselves tomorrow, you hear people, candidates, I don't know, to be a councillor, and you do what? Or to be an MP and you do what in that house where you go and they come and beat you, so if they want a constitution changed. What will it do? So but we spend a lot of time on that rather than what together we can do. Because if we focus our minds together, by next month, this is August, by September, Uganda would be free. Why must we think that we can only be free through a Byabakama election organized the next year? And we are channeled.
So you're talking about massive civil disobedience.
And we are
is that what you want?
Whether if it takes civil disobedience, yes. Civil disobedience is undertaken by, you know, any ruler will only rule people when they accept. If people just say, we no longer recognize you, that's the end. That's all it takes. Just say, we no longer recognize you, sorry. That's all it takes. Yes, it's to defy, it's to disobey. It can cause, if we did so tomorrow, by the weekend, we would have another situation here.
You have tried to light that torch, but it looks like the rest of Ugandans are not looking at that light of your torch.
So the question was, what do we need to do? First, whoever is conscious of the situation we are in and what we need to do should become an activist, should do something to make sure all around him are aware and awake. Because as I told you, the struggle is that there is bombardment from the other side to cause confusion, to divide us, to maintain a state of disorder so that we remain in this situation. That's exactly what happens. Even in prisons where they lock us up, every other prisoner is spying on another. All of them are prisoners. And then you have those walking with sticks in the compound that they are, they are bosses in the prison. Caticros, the what, they even give them different colors on the uniforms, and they think they are very important people. They order everybody around until everybody has entered the prison, then they also entered the lock everybody. So whoever is conscious, whoever wakes up, and this is why I told you I'm excited about the campaign of the Bizontos now, the pro-people Bizontos. Because they are doing what we have been doing, maybe more effectively. I told you my frustration is maybe we talk, but we talk above what people hear. Because these people are now using possibly the language ordinary people will hear and understand easily, saying, if we are Bizontos, we want to tell you what is happening here. We just want to show you that Mr. Mutevire gets 50-something million every month, that Mr. So-and-so gets so much, that these soldiers, and you, and your teacher, and this is your situation. Now, this is very important information, delivered very, creatively, and people. So the very first thing is, whether you are a media person, whether you are, in the garden digging, if you have understood, cause your neighbor to understand. Get everybody to wake up and to do something about this. That's the first thing. Get everybody to be active. Everybody. So what Uganda wants is not voters. What Uganda needs are fighters. That's what we should turn everybody to be, a fighter for his or her own right. Everybody should fight for his or her own right. We should wake up everybody to be a fighter.
You're on the brink of declaring war.
It's war. It's not declaring. There is a war going on between our captors and we, the captives, trying to free ourselves. Not every war is fought in the same way. There is a very, very intense war going on. That's why we are in prisons. That's why we are injured every day. That's why my vehicles are broken every day, and so on and so on. It is a war. It is a very active war. The point is that now, those who are fighting on the side of freedom are still few, possibly, or not organized. That's the second thing we need to do. So the first thing is to get fighters, not voters. Fighters can vote. Not all voters can fight. Every fighter, when there is need to vote, you can go and vote and actually ensure that your vote is not tampered with. That's what we need. When you see Kasese, and that's why Kasese was attacked with guns and destroyed. In Kasese, the people, the Banyarwenzururu, are fighters. So even in voting, they go as fighters. Cast their votes, fight over them until they are declared. If you are just a voter that you put your paper there and you wait.
But this is the area where you even had a leader of opposition coming from your party and now actually moving away from FDC. This is the same area where you have their biggest city or town, Kasese, you have the member of parliament representing Kasese who's saying, you know what,
Yeah,
I'm out of FDC. And these are their leaders.
You see again.
Because, no, Dr. Besige,
please help me.
Please
Please help me.
Dr. Besige.
They are not, these ones who are leaving are not the first to leave. We had people, you know, my friend Onzima, you know Onzima in Maracha. Onzima was one of our very senior leaders. In fact, the very first, I think he was a vice president in the reform agenda. He was one of our top leaders. Then he decided he needed Museveni. I don't know, he sent him a telephone as a gift and said, you call me, and you know, did all kinds of things until Museveni appointed him a minister.
You know how to have members, but you don't know how to hold those members together.
Yes,
Why?
but where is Onzima and where is Maracha? Maracha is still led by FDC. Onzima, I don't know. Later on, I heard Museveni dismissed him on radio. He didn't even see him. I don't know where Onzima is. But Maracha is still there. The people of Maracha are still FDC. Oguzuli is still there. They are their commander, their leader, their MP. Oguzuli can go, there will be another one. So please differentiate between the elites I told you.
These are leaders of your party.
Yes, elites.
In fact, on this very show, your Secretary General, the Honorable Nandala Mafabi, and the woman MP representing Kampala were wallowing in the mud before the eyes of Ugandans. That kind of character does not attract people to the party.
You see, why are we then the largest party, as you introduced?
But the survey now is showing...
Well, the survey of my Bizontos, the other Bizontos. You know, you see, let me tell you, Ugandans know what they want. In fact, Ugandans are let down by us, the elites. We are the betrayers of this country. We are the enemies of Uganda. People are not fighting for any office. It is us looking for salaries, looking for trips abroad, looking for all kinds of things. The people we are talking about just want equal opportunities, want to have services delivered through their sweat. The money we spend is their money.
Yeah, but even these people you want to fight will need those who are going to lead them in the fight. It will be an amorphous, shapeless kind of fight.
Yes, and
but the people to lead are now in disarray.
Yes, all it takes are a critical few people. You know, 27 people went to the bush. Where are the millions they were fighting with? You know? So the critical thing is, first of all, to have a right position, whether you are right or wrong. The strength in being of right is invincible. You know, right, wrong may be massive, but it will be vanquished by a small right. So the first thing is whether what we are fighting for is right and just, that this is a just cause. If your cause is not just, it will never get anywhere. If your cause is just, it can be delayed, but it will win. And yes, we spent years in the bush. We were called names like we are being called now. You know, we are good for nothing, we are hopeless people. But as long as you are having a just cause, it will win. There is absolutely no way, you know, the plunder of Uganda that is going on, just like I was telling you. You know, when you talk about people deserting, this is what I was telling you. All these trillions that have been stolen from us during the COVID, trillions, not billions, trillions, that we are taken in broad daylight, is what now you see people gallivanting around, giving people that are starving. And, you know, everybody after lockdown is, I told you, is desperate. So you cannot call that support. Absolutely not. If I want to solve a temporary problem, that's not support. So what it will take this country to do, as I have said, first of all, every Ugandan out there who wants freedom should not look at Besigye. Just hear what we are saying and do something yourself. We all must get up and do something to free ourselves. Nobody will, land from somewhere to free us. That's the first critical thing. And in order to free ourselves, we must be clear that we shall fight for that freedom. It won't come on a silver platter. No way. Nobody has ever become free for free. You have to fight for your freedom.
But it has to at least start.
Freedom has a cost.
It has to start. That kind of fight will start with the leaders.
It's already going on. I beg your pardon. It's about to end. You see again. My sense.
Dr. Besigye, I don't know how you are looking at these things.
It's about
you don't realize
the war.
You don't realize that the war you have started, that in your own house, that you are actually having a lot of trouble. You
amaze me. I don't know whether this is as part of doing a job, to ask questions and so on. Because it would be amazing if you genuinely do not realize, first of all, that there is an intense struggle that has been going on for these decades. Very intense struggle. The people of Uganda.
Yeah, but that has been your lingua for the last 19 years.
No, it's not
That's what you have said.
It's not my lingua.
I know, because I remember covering you as a reporter when you were in the field looking for votes, trying to dazzle Ugandans, using this kind of language. In fact, it is even when you talked about a tsunami that is going to sweep, that tsunami never came. You told the people of Masaka that they are lucky they are going to see the man going home, and you are going to the State House. It never happened. There's that kind of language, Dr. Besigye.
Again, you are confusing never happened and hasn't yet happened. Because in a struggle, there is no saying it was supposed to be yesterday. If it hasn't happened, the struggle has ended. A struggle, even in a personal struggle, I'm sure you have personal struggles. Maybe you want to build a house. Maybe you want to get a farm. Maybe you want to have to wed a wife or something. You have objectives.
I do.
There are immense obstacles to those objectives. When you meet those obstacles, and it may take you a long time to overcome them, it doesn't mean that your struggle has ended. It will only end when you give up. Then it has ended. Ugandans have no choice of giving up, because this is the only country they can call theirs. This is the only country God gave us. The country was hijacked from us by force. First by the British with guns. Second by the subsequent successive gunmen, So we have no option but fight and get back our country. And it may take some time. Some have spent 50 years even fighting. But there is no option. Until you win, you must continue fighting. It may not even happen in my lifetime. I would have done what I can do as a person. I would have put my brick. Those who come tomorrow are done until the country is free. So for me, I never get discouraged. And this is why I say that I will struggle for my freedom in this country until it comes or until I die, whichever comes first. So, and that when I say that, they say, you see, he's going to be a candidate. Again, their mind is so wired they think a struggle is about a program of Byabakama and his master, Mr. Museveni. That's not the struggle. That's what they would want us to that's how they want to construct their political agenda and to conscript us into it. This man Bashir has been, how many elections did Bashir win in Sudan? The last one, he had 95% of the vote. So where did all that support go before he ended up where he is? I'm sure he is not a very comfortable man behind the bars. Was there an election that led to his going? We don't need an election in order to get freedom. We can get freedom during an election, but we don't need an election to get freedom. And so the strategy must be to prepare ourselves to fight for our freedom, election or no election. Which election in any case are we talking about? Let's talk election now. Let's talk election. I was in the election 2016. I declared myself a winner. I am still charged with treason. Seated here in another election. You're asking me about a candidature of a person having a treason charge around his neck. Capital offense. Since the other election, the treason charge was for an election. Now you're asking me whether I am again committing another treason by becoming a candidate. That's where it is. Why haven't I been tried for 5 years? Especially since I went to court and said it is true, I declared myself a winner. It's not a lie. You don't have to investigate. I'm here. I declared myself a winner. So try me. Not been tried for 5 years. Where we won through the fighters, I'm telling you, in Kasese. Where is Kasese now? Their king is in prison. Hundreds of people are in jail, charged with murder, treason, I don't know, terrorism, and all kinds of things. Hundreds are in their graves, mass graves in Kasese. Because I told you they are fighters and they won. They fought for their victory. They are in mass graves in Kasese. You know? So you saw what happened in parliament. We wouldn't be talking Museveni is solo candidate. Which candidate? The constitution didn't allow him to be a candidate again. He had to be a candidate after attacking and finishing off parliament in broad daylight. We wouldn't be know this. Museveni his age would have, now he's there doing press up to show that he's still, you know, something. Whenever they bring a picture showing that he's, you know, dying, then I'm still there. He would have gone because of age. Why didn't he go? The whole country was shouting, don't touch our constitution. Which election are you talking about? The 2016 election. I heard that yesterday he was talking about corruption. That he was talking about corruption, I don't know, condemning this one, condemning the other. Cheaping Ho, who brought bribes here for election. 2016 election, Cheaping Ho brought bribes. He has just left prison. He has just served 3 years in prison. Cheaping Ho served time in the US for bribing Ugandan leaders and the leaders of Chad. So, you know, what kind of elections? In 2011, by the way, the reason Uganda's economy collapsed and why I say liberation is near. Because you can't keep on, even as a dictator, you can't hang on by just living on borrowed money. Everything, even paying soldiers now, paying soldiers to guard Mr. Museveni, he has to borrow the money.
But you know,
the money the World Bank has brought, the $1 billion, a lot of it is to pay salaries for soldiers to beat up people guarding Mr. Museveni in power.
But we also know that in
so you can't, that's not sustainable.
In these elections, even the one you say you like declared yourself winner, you were unable to provide candidates across the entire constituency. There are over 1.6 million elective, no, Dr. Besige, there are over 1.6 million elective positions in this country. FDC would struggle to even have half or a quarter of people presenting themselves in these 1.6 million elective positions.
This is why I say that, you know,
no,
I talk above your, you know, my words never seem to really have effect. And it really frustrates.
We're not talking at
because the question is it an election that is free? Is there freedom? Anybody to be a candidate now, forget about nomination fee. How much money do you have to have in your pocket to be a member of parliament? Just to nomination, 3 million. Just to have 3 million to be nominated. If you are a teacher earning 300,000, how long will it take you to earn 3 million just to be a candidate? And be a candidate in FDC knowing that you are going to for Kiboko, to be beaten and to be imprisoned and so on. So this whole question, and you see the reason,
if you cannot have even a quarter of members of parliament, of FDC in parliament, if you cannot have even a quarter of district chairman FDC, if you cannot even have a quarter
Again,
of sub-county chairperson
a
across the country. Really?
A quota based on a free and fair election or what?
But
Because if
the
an
moment
election
you
is
have
not free,
offered yourself
you know,
into that process,
depends.
it means you have accepted it and you think you have hope that you can win.
No.
Because really, how many district chairpersons do we have at FDC?
You see,
How many members of parliament do we have at
first
FDC?
of all,
How many parish chairpersons?
you know, tell me.
Because those
No,
give
no,
you
no, no,
a
come
critical
on,
mass
come
that
on.
can campaign for themselves and campaign for you.
Come on, Patrick, you are better than that. You see, Museveni led the party in which I was a member, UPM. How many members of parliament did UPM have?
It took guns for the person to. So do you want the guns?
So was it? So now why do you say, you know, NRM is the one with the candidates and so? So it's
But that's
not
the reality
it's
on the
not,
ground.
It is the same. It's the same.
It could be an unfair ground,
it's
but
the same. Mr. Museveni saying, in fact, Mott has done terrible things. He had not done terrible things. Then it's the same, Mr. Museveni. So the thing is, you know, understand. This is why I told you that the bottom line is freedom. Where there is no freedom, you cannot talk elections. You cannot talk about, you know, these governance issues you are talking. It's not possible where there is no freedom. So, you know, just look at the current election. You saw the roadmap after COVID that Mr. Byabakama gave a roadmap. You know, when he gave a roadmap, he had just met Mr. Museveni.
Yes.
And of course, he had not consulted any of the other stakeholders in the election because he's an electoral commissioner. He had not consulted anybody. He consulted Museveni. And when he was challenged, he said, no, I didn't go there to consult him about the elections. I went there because I had no money to run the elections. I went to appeal to him. So this is the independent electoral commission seeking money from solo candidate Museveni. He's the one who will allow them to have money to run an election or not to allow. That is the type of election you are talking about. A few weeks later, he dismisses all the senior technocrats in the commission. Summarily, all of them, get out, get out, get out. Ruakojo, whom we had petitioned actually to remove from office because we believe he was there illegally, and court, he argued and brought all the kinds of lawyers. I don't know how much he spent on lawyers to fight that he was still in office. Now they say he has voluntarily and immediately. it's you know, if commissioners during an election, we are in the middle of an election, the roadmap is moving. In the middle of an election, if a candidate can dismiss, and this is an independent electoral commission, officials of the Independent Electoral Commission are not under the control of the president. But he dismisses the 7 senior commissioners, senior staff. Next week, he's presenting new constituencies in parliament, not the Electoral Commission. Mr. Museveni, gerrymandered the constituencies. 40-something, I hear they are still adding on. I don't know by the time they stop how many they will be. Formed during the election.
Dr. Besigye, hold on to your point because we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I'll be able to get your responses. Perhaps you can send them on our different platforms, on social media platforms, and we'll be able to read for Dr. Besigye to answer your questions or comments. But should you disagree with Dr. Besigye, disagree with respect. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara, and we are coming to you live from the home of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Just a few weeks ago, a week and a half, I suppose, we saw the Lord Mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, now getting the party card of FDC, though I always thought he was FDC because if you can walk like a duck and you have webbed feet like a duck and you have feathers like a duck, then you're a duck. But, well, I always thought he was FDC. But his official cross, if that was official cross, what does he bring on the table?
Oh, well, first of all, I think the credentials of Salongo, Elias Lukwago speak for themselves, whether in his professional capacity as a legal practitioner, whether in his career as a politician, as a member of parliament, and his legislative work as a leader of Kampala, the capital city, and the struggles that he has been engaged in. He comes with a very wide experience, but far more than experience. I think is, you know, what I am extremely, you know, attracted to in the Lord Mayor is the consistency and clarity in his political pursuits. You know, these conversations we are having about what it is we are doing in Uganda, I find that he is one of those people who is extremely clear about what the struggle is and how it should be conducted, and who commits himself unwaveringly to it. You know, that's why I think, regardless of political parties, because as I told you, we are really not in a multi-party political dispensation to talk of. The law allows political parties to exist, and to that extent we use them and must use them as the legal allowed spaces where we can have some little chance to organize. We use them. Any chance that is created for us to organize, we use it. But to think that we are therefore focused on political platforms in terms of what I hear people talk about, ideology of this, of that, that is not where we are. We are all united in, first of all, being free to exercise and espouse our ideologies. We don't have the freedom to espouse our ideologies. And that's why even in campaigns that we have, national campaigns, you know, the people, yes, may be interested to hear what you will do in education and so on, but they really don't take you seriously because they don't think you have a serious chance to have the power to do what you are saying. So the Lord Mayor, you know, is that one person who has demonstrated that he can stand the winds. You know, he was thrown out of office after a tumultuous period in the hall where all councillors ganged against him, including those of his own party, and you know, and ejected him wrongly, betrayed by even his closest aides. You know, his deputies have now betrayed him twice, you know, from his own party, you know, but he stands firm, especially when people lose the earning, because, you know, it's very trying. You have been getting maybe 15 million shillings a month, and all of a sudden you are not getting anything. And you have all kinds of commitments, maybe based on that earning that was projected. You have loans, you have this. So some people you could see that their situation is, but not Elias Lukwago. He has remained firm and focused on people's agenda, not on his agenda. Elias Lukwago has been in Kampala fighting for ordinary people who are being thrown out of markets, who are being thrown out of workplaces, who are being terrorized by all kinds of interests in the city and so on. They are able to run to him with the confidence. I've met many of them with the confidence that he will be acting in their interest. So I really felt good that he had now united, not just in work, but even in making decisions together on how we work, you know, institutionally.
You see, the man
that he can bring that those you know, attributes into the leadership of the FDC.
You know, the pulse of the city on Lukwago's switch to FDC, official switch to FDC, was that he could be the presidential flag bearer of FDC. Well, I pick that because I have heard it so often. What a better way to find out than ask you.
I can tell you without this,
who is very close to him.
I can tell you without the slightest fear of contradiction that Elias Lukwago would make a good president of this country. I have no doubt. He is qualified. He's been tested. I would vote for him. I think he could make a good president. But I just told you that that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is not to get a leader now. It's to get what to lead. And he is that focused to make sure that whatever it takes to get what to lead, he will do it. Whatever call is made on him, he will not be found wanting. So if, for example, the Forum for Democratic Change thought that maybe now, tactically, he's better, I'm sure Kwago will not be found wanting to lead the fight, you know, which is great, you know. And that's why, you know, some people, I hear some people are worried there, you know. Others have candidates, FDC doesn't have a candidate yet. Please, especially if you are our FDC fighters out there, relax. You know, FDC has what it takes to fight in all situations. We are not lacking in command. We are not lacking in support. We are not lacking in determination to fight. So be firm. Don't be swayed, I don't know, by this, that we have no. No, we shall have a candidate. If there is need for a candidate, we shall have a candidate, and a very competent one. Not just a candidate to fulfill. We are a competent commander. Because for us, we go to the election, as I have told you, to fight. We don't just go there to mobilize voters. We go to mobilize and train fighters.
You know, what we have seen, in fact, it was illustrated in a better way today in the New Vision newspaper, where I think it depicts your leaders in the party, you know, begging you, Dr. Besigye, to be on the ballot, that please declare. If I could read those cartoons, well, I think I was seeing the Honorable Wasoverugwa and maybe some
yes,
Uganda,
you see.
And, begging you. But that is the pulse of the heartbeat of FDC.
Who's the pulse?
Because if you don't, for example, if you don't run as a presidential candidate, many of your colleagues will not have their political agendas realized, because in a way they also ride on your support to go to parliament, LOC 5 or councillor.
If their fight is for these offices in the junta, if that is their fight, and I'm sure there will be also some in the FDC whose business is just looking for an office. Those are not people to care about if they are lost or not, because even when they are given what they need in that office by anybody, they will go. That's how I've told you, people cross all the time to NRM especially, where there is food, where they are, even people who are in parliament, they cross while in parliament. There is a leader of ours in Mbale who left a seat on account of some promises and all kinds of things. So people will always shift. That is not, but the people we want, and even if they are few, I will never get worried myself.
Okay.
The people we want are those who are focused on taking the country back in our hands, and who know what it takes to do so.
What has been the effect of the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi's new party, or even the Movement of People's Party, on the entire force or forces of change in Uganda?
Well, I think that is still an evolving situation. As you know, it's a very recent situation, and it's evolving where it crystallizes. I really don't know yet. I think one of the positive things with the emergence of the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi has been to enthuse some of the young people that maybe were a little detached. Like I said, we speak to different audiences sometimes in terms of our impact. The audience maybe which I am able to effectively communicate with leaves out some people. And I think you've seen that, especially in the there's a lot of excitement in the artists, in the young people who interested in the arts, in the, in the music, in all kinds of things. I think that has added onto people that are enthusiastic, whom now we have a duty to turn into fighters, because just being interested is not enough. They must understand what the fight that is on, and what it takes to achieve it. So, but the starting point is to get their attention. I think their attention, we have more people who are paying attention to political processes, possibly, than those who were there before, and that is good. How then this develops is works in progress. Every advantage, of course, comes with a disadvantage. And I think one of the challenges that we have grappled with was the fact that, this was indeed a fluid kind of movement without any membership, without any structured leadership. So all it took was maybe putting on a red cap and you start saying, I am people power. And that opened room for all kinds of, I think, interests to use that space to cause all kinds of disharmony in some of the activists' roles. And these are not even only limited to that. They are infiltrated in all platforms, including in FDC, it's easier to infiltrate them in situations where there is no structured leadership. And that's why I am happy that they have now formed a party. So they have a constitution, they are regulated. If you are from Kasangati, you go to the leadership in Kasangati. I can refer to a leader in Kasangati and say, who is this member of yours who is doing this? So this is, as I say, it's works in progress. But more importantly, again, not losing the sight of what the struggle is. The struggle is not about forming platforms. The struggle is about creating a unified force that can fight and break down the gunmen and subordinate them to the people of Uganda. So the struggle is about subordination of armed rulers or armed control. And that takes unity. And this is what we've been fighting to build. When you hear we are building united forces of change, that's what we are consciously trying to build. Okay. And that we must maintain that sharp focus on the ball, that the problem are the gunmen, not each other. Because, so that if there is anybody infiltrated within FDC attacking fellow freedom fighters, then we are able to quickly isolate him and say, you are not acting on our behalf, please get out.
Okay, Dr. Besigye, I want to turn away, change gears, because you're a medical doctor, but also a leader, and we're under a pandemic of COVID-19. I wonder how you see the effort of Uganda in fighting the disease. I've seen in the international community, and even Ugandans seem to be lauding Uganda for the efforts so far taken. How do we continue to save lives, but also save the livelihoods?
Well, first of all, Patrick, as you know, this is an area indeed of an interest from my professional background, and it's one that I have been paying a very keen eye on how it develops and how it is managed. It's a new disease, just a few months old, and so there is still a lot to learn, which is not known yet. And we are getting new information every day on how it
mutates or evolves.
Yeah, how it attacks the human body and how it develops and how it is defeated. And I have been running a weekly briefing from my social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, on COVID. And, so it's a matter that I am keeping very close watch on. And, you know, I have been, of course, noting the, you know, self-congratulation that has been going on within the government that frankly was very, very premature and not well-founded. You know, in Africa, including, you know, our Central African regions here, even where no effort has been made actually, or had been made to contain the disease, we haven't seen any massive death as we have seen elsewhere.
Yes.
So the fact that we are not yet experiencing very many deaths to that extent maybe does not relate to how effectively we have responded to it. It does not necessarily, I'm just saying not necessarily. Maybe it has had an impact, but maybe not. Or not to the extent that we would like to believe. I have pointed out that we have the fundamental area of mismanagement, in my own view, has been the absence of a clear and transparent plan to respond to the pandemic. Because the pandemic was declared a disease of world concern way back in January. And all countries were notified by World Health Organization in January. I think in March it was declared for officially a pandemic. And here we got the first case, I think towards the end of March. But frankly, up to now, there are many things you ask a plan and you don't see it. So we had enough time to plan, because if it's a world pandemic, we should have known that it will come here, sooner or later. As I have been saying, sooner or later, every human being will be affected by it. It's not only the 1,000 who are declared positive, or the 40 million, sooner or later will have suffered it. So there should have been a plan. Lockdown should have been planned. The purpose for which lockdown was being done should have been clear, that we are locking down in order to do A, B, C, D. Mm-hmm. And if we get to A, we shall open. If we get to B, we shall do this. That plan, up to now, is non-existent. And this, I have been pointing out that especially 6 critical areas that we should have had that plan. First and foremost, to have a plan of how to examine those who have the virus, to have a surveillance plan, you know, and, you know, survey everybody all over. Mm-hmm. We should have had a plan, so the plan of how to avoid, you know, the virus spreading. We should have had a plan of how to protect people if they get it, how to build their immunity. Mm-hmm. There should have been a plan. Up to now, you cannot ask even the Minister of Health, what is our plan to build the immunity of Ugandans? You know, even when they were distributing the literal food they distributed, no attention was paid on how that literal food would impact on the immunity of people. So we would have had a plan for that. We would have had a plan of how to manage our workspaces when we get out of lockdown. So we would have had a plan of what we will do with the borders, with the taxis, right at the beginning. We should have had a plan. We shouldn't have locked all these borders for all this long, only to say all they need to ride is to put on a mask. You know, because at the end of the day, after they had suffered, been vanquished, or they are saving, destroyed, said, no, you know what? We have found that if you put on a mask, you can actually ride your border. Now, that's not serious. So we should have a plan that, you know, Mr. Museveni said he was discussing with some lady who said, by the way, saloons can open, if they do this, the saloons, and he looked at it and said, yes, by the way, I think saloons can open. So now saloons let them open. That's not how you run a country. The problem is that indeed, Uganda is simply being run as somebody's family.
Okay.
That's why he calls us Bazukuru, Batabani, I don't know what. A country, you are in office to serve. I'm not your Mutabani, you are Muzukuru, you are my servant. Even the one born today, you are his servant. You don't have to patronize everybody.
Colonel Besigye, I would want to thank you so much, because our time is out, for having given us your time, and I appreciate your insights.
So
perhaps you can look.
You didn't warn me that time was running up. Please, Ugandans, this is a very, very critical time in our history. I think we are at the verge of liberation, in spite of all the cloud and all the mist that is in our eyes. I think we have every opportunity to liberate our country, because our captors can never be weaker than they are today. I told you they even have no money to pay those who protect them in power. They have no support anywhere in the country. Everybody is on the wall. They forget about this nonsense they are telling you about people supporting NRM. The services in the country and so on. So the first thing I request is that wake up each other and let us put pressure on all of us to unite once and for all and procure our freedom. Our freedom is not dependent on the Byabakama roadmap, Byabakama Museveni roadmap. Let us establish our own roadmap to our freedom. Let us liberate our money, which they are now abusing and stealing and do whatever. Let's liberate it to save our people who have been weakened by the pandemic, by the lockdown. There is a lot of money in the country. We can use it to save people's livelihoods, people who are locked out of their homes, people who are locked out of their businesses, people whose capital has collapsed. We can revamp it. We have the capacity to do so. Let's make the resolve. I am in the fight. I will never leave the fight until it is over, or until I am over. So let's remain together and fight till we win. Let's not be diverted by candidate this, candidate that. Let us unite for freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There you have heard him, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, a man with the gift of the gab and the oratory power to communicate. He's got a sharp mind, but also he's gifted to express that mind so well. In the coming days or months, we're going to see 1.6 million Ugandans who want to take elective positions coming to you, telling you that they are going to change your lives. They won't. But you know what? The Constitution says the power belongs to the people. And the power is going to be in the form of a ballot paper. So hold that ballot paper so well. Use it wisely and listen to what they are going to say. Choose the leader that you deserve, because at this moment you have the power and the politicians are malleable. Turn them to the direction that you want, using the power given to you by the Constitution of Uganda. Thank you for your great company. Good night, and God bless Uganda.
This is NTV.